So this was finished yesterday, and in between doing the lessons, and it was because of the period. I normally do them in one sitting, but because it was spread over a couple of days, it got me thinking about the maintaining the energy to keep. It's not just about the energetic way that you work, it's to do with the energy of the creative process. I think it's trying not to get bogged down by and the sludge of detail, but so it needed the spontaneity, whereas this one was done in one session. And you can see the energy that's in things. You can see the energy that's in those. It's like, the creative force. The danger is when it takes too long or it takes longer, it just becomes a production and you start to focus on things that aren't really that important. And that, I think, is the hardest thing for me, to keep that energy going so it doesn't get bogged down by the that monotony of things, of trying to get every detail. The hair on the first one I showed you was on the verge of me becoming too laboured, and and it would have lost all the the freshness of all that. It would have lost all that. You can see that there's a lot of reasons why it's like that. It's mainly probably because the charcoal wasn't so great. So you've got a lot of like at that point, I've got fresh charcoal, by the way, so I'll show you in a minute. At that point, when you're doing that, I'm aware of the direction of the strokes in order to create the effect of hair. You see, so I'm exploiting the fact that the charcoal was a bit rubbish, and but as I said, the energy that's in that hair there could easily be lost. And I was on the point of doing that when I was trying to make it even more, of a replica of the hair. So that's, I'm aware of that. I just, it's just I can feel myself slowing down and just getting. People like that. I know people like the the meticulous thing and they lose themselves in it and all that. But for me, it's an adrenaline rush. So I have to. It has to be vibrating at the time I'm doing it. Anyway, new charcoal. Look at this stuff. Look at this stuff. It's a long time since I've had this kind of outcome. Look at that. Yeah, very good burn yesterday. So if you're watching, Kevin, I'll be sending some. I'm going to try and do some more today. So yeah, but paper's a bit rubbish. We're still not sorted on the paper front. So I don't know what the outcome will be. But I'm not really that bothered. I'm going to draw this way, which is one of the images I put on the members area. There was 4 of them. And that one I've just shown you with the hair was one of the 4. It's one of the 5, I think. Yeah, there were 5 altogether, and this is one of them. So I'm going to draw one of these. One of the students had drawn this one yesterday and sent me done a fantastic job. So I thought I would go at it. But what I wanted to do with it was I wanted it to be. Because of that, I haven't really got the problem. I mean, it's not black. It might go to black. Depends. I'm not at the black stage yet, so I just wanted to do the energy thing. You see, I don't think I'll go black. We'll end up with a graphite-looking image, but it's okay. That was not really the point of doing this. As I say, more about this energy thing. So. I think that you kind of confuse the energy with I mean, obviously it's going to manifest in the marks you make. You can't get around that. If there's energy in it, you're going to, it's going to show. If you're energetic in the way that you go about doing this, it's going to show. But I think it's more to do with the way that you connect with it. I think that's the way. That's the thing that's where the energies. You can see the energy in it. Like I say, people would think that it was just the other way I'm making marks. It's the energy, but no, it's not. And really, these initial marks, because this is the thing. Even the highly finished one would have started like this. So it's not necessarily an indication of the how it will end up. The energy thing. I just think it's just the way that you feel about it. I can feel. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I can feel when I draw. I can feel a quite sort of. I suppose it's being a bit out of breath kind of thing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it feels as though I'm the adrenaline's pumping. That's the energy that I'm referring to. If that's not happening, if I don't feel that, then it's not. It's not. I'm not enjoying doing it. I don't feel as though it's going to work anyway when it's like that. But I don't mind towards the end. The other one that's quite highly finished. I don't mind it's slowing down and being a bit more deliberate. I think in its early stage, I want it to be exciting and as I say, adrenaline pumping. But towards and the thing is, somebody might think of that as a anxiousness, that it might not work, that kind of thing. So one of the obvious things that's happening with this this charcoal is this. You can see how it's a blending kind of effect that it has. This sort of washy watercolor feel about it. Which is good. I think one of the things I noticed early on when I was using not necessarily this charcoal, but some of the charcoal it could, and the combination of the paper. This is what I was saying about the combination. Make sure that you get the combination right for you. Don't, don't just use the first paper that you find or you're told to use. Don't use just because that's what everybody else uses. Find one that works for you. I don't think there's any secret to try and maintain the energy. I think it's just a case of, this is why I suppose plein air, you'll see it in a plein air painter as well. You'll see there's energy in the marks, because there's a immediacy about it, because they're going to get it done before the light changes and so on. So a lot of people move. There's all that kind of thing. But I think it's more than just practical necessity. I think that's it's got to be done now because the lights are going to change and the cars move off. And I think it's more than just, let's say, practical necessity in it. Well, it is for me anyway. I think it's the I don't know. I'm just drifting off for a minute. Then yeah, it's I don't know. I think that one of the things that's happening now, because of the new charcoal, I'm switching back to a different mode. Before, when I was doing, say, I was using a little charcoal, and I did the guy with the, I think he had glasses on, I can't remember. I drew in a particular way. With this, I'm drawing in a kind of a different way. I think mainly because I'm not worrying too much about the charcoal. I've said this before about use a medium that doesn't get in the way, and I think that's probably one of the things that's happening now. That this is not getting in the way of me doing this. So, which is good. So as I say, I can concentrate on the energy of it, capturing the energy of it, or interpreting the energy of it. If you're watching live, it's YouTube playing its silly games again. Sorry about that. I think one of the things you probably notice is that I have just done it then. You've just seen that sort of me traversing across the face. It's because of the the connectedness, the relationship thing. I think that I'm trying to see where everything works, where everything connects to, as opposed to this is an object, which is this feature I'm going to draw here. I'm more bothered about the way that interacts with this, here, and if there is some kind of tonal connection, then I'll follow that through. And it's just that's I don't. It's I think it's because of I was talking about that on the one that's highly finished one, and I think there's a second part to that. I haven't edited yet and put up. But anyway, but I was talking about the way that the background is the foreground, and the whole connectedness of everything, and how the relationships interact. Because one of the things about backgrounds, one of the things about that background, for instance, is the way that it impacts on the way the light works on the face. It affects the way that the face is lit. One of the things you've seen it now is that because this eye is quite dense, quite strong tonally, look how it impacts on everything else. This needs to be the same density as that. It's the balance thing, and that's the same with backgrounds. Backgrounds will indicate how light is affecting the face, and it's a light. Simple. Look at it simply. You can just say like the light's coming from a door or a window, whatever. That's the direction of light, and you spend time understanding the way that the light's coming from that source, and so on and so forth. But it's not always as obvious as that. It can be very subtle, the way that the background, and you can manipulate as well. I mean, that's another thing that I find that with backgrounds is that you can they will, at the end of your work, well, not at the end, but as you see, I kind of think background should be part of the drawing process all the time, not just at the end of it. I'm going to stick the face, which is traditionally how it's done. Stick the face on a blue background or a tonal background or whatever. But I think that the background is part of the drawing of the face. When I'm considering doing something more than a floating head, this is a floating head, but because of the nature of the hair, this massive entangled curls here, it's going to look more like, because it's going to. When I was talking about in the lesson yesterday, I was talking about the environmental thing. This face is in an environment, and almost telling a story because it's in an environment, give it context. And one of the images was let me show you what I was doing. One of the images is, excuse my back. There you go. One of the images is a woman in a hat, and what I was saying was that, let me find it. Was there you go, there. So that hat isn't. You can see how it looks. Same as a floating head, like that guy there, right? There's a floating head, and that's just, you can see how it looks like just a floating head. I mean, there's composition-wise in terms of how it's put, fitting on the paper, but it's a floating head. It doesn't. There's no environment. There's enough of a character there not to not need an environment. But that is a woman in an environment. It's there's hazy lines at the top. The lines are not that detailed. There's a hint that the sun's out, but she lives within that frame of the brim of a hat, and that it's almost like it's more than just a floating head. Do you know what I mean? So that those kind of considerations, I think, when you're doing something, it lives within the place kind of thing. I think that is is something that I don't know. It just interests me that we can create the emotional relevance more by considering it the environment in which the person's in. There's so many other things. Great artists will make the environment as much about the story, part of the story as obviously would, but as the actual subject, so the portrait would be just part of the scene, the person is just part of the scene, and to what point does it become secondary to the scene? That's the thing. It's just somebody was on about Turner yesterday and said that the reason why people liked it because he didn't stick many figures in his landscapes. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the flip side of what I'm talking. I'm talking about the balance of the two. The balance of the head, the figure, in the environment, and how that environment then impacts on even on a portrait. It's just a face. It's the same kind of considerations. The hair is just a tangled mess. I can only look and twitch, look and I said this when I was going through all the videos of the day, and I was looking at the one that said, "Don't stare at the image too long," that one. And I think when you're drawing hair like this, the more you look at the hair, the subject, the reference, the better. And just let your arm reflect, sort of, like I said before, like the lie detector effect. Let it twitch and respond as you're glancing backwards and forwards as many times as you can. It's remarkable how effective that is. It's just like, and especially when I'm trying not to get too detailed, because I just, you imagine how you could go to town on that, and it'd be a nightmare. It'd be a nightmare for me anyway. It's not. It's for a lot of people. It's they'll probably be excited about doing that, but for me, that is just no. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that at all. I've said this before about the detail trap that I fell into, back in the day. I still have to balance the tones. Their eyes are quite dark and very contrasted, but there is a need to just balance the tones a little bit and shift things around a bit. I think the other thing as well is that when there's a level of energy in the early stages, it has the side effect of it is there are things that you probably wouldn't deliberately do. It's just part of the response thing, and those things that you wouldn't normally do are often the best bits. They're the marks you didn't intend to make. It's a serendipitous thing I've talked about before. But as I said, at this stage now, I can, and I do it. I get to a point where it's almost there, and I just need to finesse the thing, and generally just slowing down a bit and looking a bit better. This is when I talked about the different types of observation, the responsive and the deliberate stuff. and emotionals are the one that overarches everything. But this is the deliberate observation thing. Initially, it was just responsive observation, and now when it gets deliberate, I tend to slow down. And see, the other thing about drawing hair, in that kind of twitchy, glancing way, is that you kind of, without knowing it, you kind of follow the flow of the curls or the whatever it is that you're doing, and even though there'll be dark marks, they won't be highlighted. But as you can then come back to it and then put the lines in that follow those twitchy marks that you're making. And as you do that, it suddenly captures the hair a lot quicker. Let's put it that way. It captures the effect of the hair a lot quicker, and it's more effective. And invariably, it looks a lot more like the subject than you thought it did. You can see how the hair all of a sudden. You see, all of a sudden, the hair starts to look more like the actual hair that you're trying to draw than you thought it did. Simply because in that moment when you were scribbling round, you were actually, even though it wasn't white, you were actually making the marks in the right. Sorry about that. But again, I've got to get. Well, it's going to be uploaded as a video, so it's the live stream. There's a problem with YouTube, not the upload thing. So I'm going to upload it, so you'll see it anyway. So it's kind of it's in the right place. So the only thing that I need to do now is to fix all the imbalance of tones that's there. The charcoal is